Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, another special edition of the Terrible Podcast, Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp 2022. I am Dave Bryan. It is August the 11th. It is Thursday night. There is preseason football on my TV, and there is Alex Kozora on the other end of this line. And fresh off of another trip to Saint Vincent College in Latrobe. Thursday practice, back to the normal time out there. It's the final practice open to the public before the Steelers play the Seattle Seahawks on Saturday night at Acrisure Stadium. And with that, happy Thursday night, Alex.
Happy Thursday night, Dave. Really good day at Saint Vincent College. Weather held up overall pretty well, but pads were on. One of the more physical and intense days of camp, and happy that it was back at the normal time. Though, again, I kind of like those Monday morning, or just morning practices in general, but overall a really fun day at SVC.
I like them too because we get done early, and I could be sitting here right now watching all these games and not have to worry about doing this. We'd already had the podcast done by now. But
is Malik Willis playing right now? Is he in the game yet?
I don't know. I got on the call with you right as I was getting settled in for this game here. I don't think he was. No, I think he's going to play a little bit later in this game. So definitely going to be watching that. For those listening, that's on the NFL Plus and all like that. You have the app on your TV and log in that way. You can watch all these preseason games and all like that. But I think the Steelers Seahawks game will be on the NFL Network Saturday night. So if you have that, you should be able to get that without issue. Wait a minute, maybe Willis. Yeah, Willis is in this game, by the way. Okay. So I think it's illegal for me to do play-by-play on a podcast.
Well, you cut out for a second there. What'd you say?
I said it might be illegal for me to do play-by-play on a podcast. I don't know.
All right.
But anyway, why don't we start off with a little housekeeping and a little shout out to the fine people at Touring Plans and Len Testa.
Yeah, Touring Plan's been a longtime sponsor of our Steelers Depot training camp coverage, and so cannot thank those guys enough. If you're planning a trip to Disney, that's the company that you want to go through. They're going to help you arrange everything so it goes smoothly and quickly, and there's less stress in what can be certainly a stressful time booking any vacation, but especially to Disney. So go to touringplans.com. There's a link in the description at the top of the diary of every single diary, but including today. So go there and tell them Len Testa and Steelers Depot sent you.
Absolutely. Please do that. Longtime sponsor of the special edition Terrible Podcast episodes. All right, Alex, Mike Tomlin met the media earlier in the day, did not meet the media after practice because of that. He didn't give much of an injury rundown or really any injury rundown in the morning press conference other than the old we'll leave the light on for those and haven't made any hard decisions. He did kind of indicate, though, that those guys that are kind of banged up, not gonna hurt them by and setting them behind the eight ball in so many words by playing them. But there is still a long list of guys that either did not work or were limited in participation on Thursday. So why don't you share that with everybody?
Sure. Not practicing on Thursday included running back Benny Snell, who I did not even see on the field today with that knee injury. Derek Watt, Chase Claypool, Marcus Allen, Alex Highsmith, Shenard Avery, Montrevious Adams, Kevin Dotson, and Zach Gentry. I saw most of those guys on the field. No Adams, though, again, for the second straight day, so a little worried about that. Deontay Johnson returned back basically in full, maybe slightly limited in terms of not getting his full complement of snaps in team. He was in black sweats the whole day, so I didn't think he was going to work at first, but he basically did. He's healthy. Najee Harris continues to be limited, but he looks fine overall. Let's see here. Tyson Alu returned in team, but just for 7 shots. Maybe a play or two there, but still, progress there. I doubt he'll play against Seattle, but certainly working in the right direction overall.
Did you hit Benny Snell?
Yes, Benny Snell.
Okay.
He did not practice. Mateo Durant was in pads, did not go through team. He was limited. So Pittsburgh had 3 healthy and full participant running backs on Thursday. McFarland, Jalen Warren, and Master Teague. That was it. And so they're really thin as thin can be there, but it's a lot of opportunity for those 3 healthy guys.
Going to be interesting to see if Mateo Durant can suit up Saturday night. The fact that he's not been waived, injured right now, probably a decent sign at this point. But I think most of those guys that you ran down, probably a good chunk of them, if not all of them, except for maybe Mateo Durant, will sit out the game on Saturday night. But Mike Tomlin says to leave the light on, so we'll leave that light on there for them. Now, we did have a transaction earlier in the day, and you were the first one, I think, on the Twitter machine to recognize a new number 21 out there.
Yeah, not too often there's been one number 21 receiver, let alone 2, but Javon McKinley goes out the door, waived injured after a shoulder injury suffered in yesterday's practice, signed in his place Christian Blake, who will also wear number 21 and is a kind of a bigger guy the way McKinley is, though Blake has a better NFL resume, and he came down during stretch line, met Brisman Jackson, and I think maybe there's a relationship with Deontay Johnson. There are a couple of Florida guys, played in the MAC, Northern Illinois for Christian Blake, and so they said hello before practice, but Blake was thrown right in there and worked in full team session today.
All right. With all that now out of the way, we'll get into the
and by the way, just real quick, is it Hamilcar? Is that what you said? Hamilcar Rashad Jr.?
It's Hamilcar.
Hamilcar. Okay.
Hamilcar Rasheen. Hamilcar Rasheen.
Okay. He wore number 46, so just some housekeeping there, and he worked in full team participant today.
Imagine that, me helping people with pronunciation.
Hey, first time for everything.
It sure is. I only know because I had to Google that out just to make sure, because I mentioned his name in the in the Thursday terrible take, to the degree of, look, there's 5 outside linebackers and 1 or 2 bones possibly at this point, and probably not going to see those top 3 linebackers in Watt, Highsmith, and Jannard Avery on Saturday night there. So it's probably going to be those 5. I assume all have made it through practice on Thursday healthy. So that was kind of my terrible take today, looking ahead to that position battle there. Okay, offense. Well, first and foremost, there was an interesting drill today, right? That got a lot of people excited, and I think you have a rundown of it in your diary. Why don't you tell people a little bit about that drill that they had to start with?
Sure, and it's something they do every year, just once every camp, so it's pretty special. But it's just a 1v1 tackling drill where basically 2 players, a runner and a defender, line up about 10 yards apart. The runner receives the football, spins around, and it just kind of becomes a one-on-one, who makes a tackle or can you break the tackle drill. It's along the sideline, so the defender has some leverage, so it's not completely open field, and it's kind of a 5-yard space in terms of the width of it. And it just, it's a little Oklahoma-like, minus the actual blockers. There are no blockers in this drill. And so I have every single rep of that log. That was high intensity, high energy. Minkah Fitzpatrick was excellent in it. He had 3 wins in his 3 reps. Mark Robinson, Master Teague had great battles to end it. Master Teague overall was really good in that session. George Pickens had his moments, things like that. And so I have a rundown of all that. But that was high energy, high intensity. And again, there were some teams that won't tackle at all. You got, 2 days before a preseason game, Pittsburgh going all out in a tackling circuit, and not even in a team session, but just one-on-one.
Here's to that being the last real time we have to really talk and be excited about Minkah Fitzpatrick making a lot of one-on-one tackles like that, right?
True.
I mean, especially close to the line of scrimmage. Poor guy led the defense last year, right? And that we don't want to see a repeat of that in 2022.
Absolutely. Yeah, he had far too many tackles, most ever by Steelers safety. If the tackle numbers come, you could basically, if you told me how many tackles Minkah Fitzpatrick has in 2022, I could tell you how good and how improved the Steelers run defense was. But in that drill, he was fantastic. And again, I have every single play of that session logged. There was a lot of good nuggets in there, including Najee Harris. He's got the nickname for Gunnar Olszewski of White Chocolate. So that was.
Oh, no, he didn't.
He did. Yeah. Najee Harris, and he was very high energy. He was so amped up for Master Teague whenever he would win. And so I promise that foot's looking good because Harris was dancing around like a madman. So that foot's in good shape.
All right, good news. All right, offensive side of the football. Tell me about the quarterbacks today.
Mitch Trubisky, you talk about the roller coaster 2 days ago, really good yesterday, really poor today, was certainly a bounce back day overall. He did well in 7 shots, though his scores were a bit easier. A jump ball fade to George Pickens got, then had a toss to McFarland, a bubble screen to Anthony Miller, who took a big hit there, but got over the goal line. And then there was always some controversy in 7 shots. I'm getting frustrated by that. There was a jump ball the second time around to Pickens that at first I thought he did catch it, and then there was kind of some uncertainty, and then it felt like Mike Tomlin blew the whistle and ruled incomplete. Steelers.com says it's a catch. We'll call it a catch there, but Trubisky overall, a nice job in 7 shots, but pushed the ball downfield, found Steven Sims wide open on probably a blown coverage though, but a big completion down the right sideline, then a great touch throw on a wheel route to McFarland, working over and against Robert Spillane. That one for 44 yards. So overall, certainly a much better day for Mitch Trubisky today as opposed to yesterday.
All right, what about the other 2?
Yeah, Rudolph was more quiet. Don't have a ton of notes there. I thought Kenny Pickett had a really good throw to end one of the team sessions. There was some pressure. He kind of threw off 1 foot to his right and a really strong, accurate throw for about a 15-yard gain caught by rookie wide receiver Tyler Snead. And so that was a really high-level off-platform throw by Pickett. And so those are the kind of plays that the elite quarterbacks make, whether or not it's not in rhythm. It's not a 3-5 step drop, hitch up, fire. It's the pocket's collapsing. I got pressure. I got to make a throw off platform, and Pickett did. So certainly continue to see that improvement and see some really good accuracy from Pickett whenever he's moving, primarily to his right, but just moving outside the pocket in general. His accuracy remains high.
Chris Oladokun looked good in the mental reps.
Looks really good. We'll talk about it more tomorrow, I know, but I think it was a little slip of the tongue when Mike Tomlin at his presser said all 3 quarterbacks will play. And there's a 4th one there that you don't want to forget about, but Oladokun's obviously not going to play and is still looking for that first rep.
And as Mike Tomlin mentioned earlier in the day, it's going to be Mitch Trubisky, followed by Mason Rudolph, followed by Kenny Pickett. We'll see how the breakdown goes. He's not married to anything in there, but it sounds like first couple series for Trubisky, and then Mason Rudolph come in for a bit there, and then Kenny Pickett. I think he said 4th quarter, but sometimes those things work out a little bit different as far as actual time frames go and series and stuff like that there. Anything else to add about the quarterback position ahead of Friday?
Not too much aside from Trubisky nearly being picked by Witherspoon. Overall, quarterbacks took care of the football. I thought they had a good day overall.
All right, running backs. You hit a lot of that. Some of that, I think, in that drill that they did. Jaylen Warren. The train has left the station, so we better have been on it at this point, right?
Yeah, he continues to do well. I mean, there's been a couple of down days, but more good than bad. And again, just to the overall point of literally 3 running backs working in full today: McFarland, Warren, and Teague. And so typically, you're going to have 5 to 6 guys working. And so there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of carries for those guys. Also requires a lot of conditioning. I mean, they go from, a team session to the one-on-one tackling session, back to team, Warren, Teague, they're doing special team stuff as well. That's a really high level of just, can you absorb those snaps? And the fact that Pittsburgh's not signed another running back probably indicates they're pretty comfortable and confident and willing to give Jaylen Warren, Master Teague those snaps and opportunities. Both ran well, both ran hard. Again, Teague, super rocked up, explosive lower half, a big lower half. Warren had a really good run with some good run blocking in one of the team sessions today. So I think just to the baseline stuff that Mike Tomlin talks about, the nuts and bolts of being an NFL player, are you in really good shape? If you're not in good shape, it doesn't matter what your 40 time was or how athletic you are or how smart you are, how well you catch the football. If you're not conditioned, none of that matters to me. Watching those guys work so consistently with the lines being so thin the last couple of days speaks so highly of the level of conditioning, which is maybe the most impressive part of what Warren and Teague have been able to do.
Outside of the obvious draft pick rookies of the Pickens and the Austins and Kenny Pickett and that line of guys that you're excited to see Saturday night in the preseason opener, is Maurice Jones-Warren the next one on that list?
Yeah, I don't have it ranked. I just like looking at all these guys, but it'll certainly be a key one to watch for. How well does the offensive line block overall? Can Warren create on his own? Typically, things aren't so properly X's and O's whiteboard blocked up in preseason action. So can you, as a running back, break a tackle and someone's going to get in the backfield, a linebacker's going to shoot a gap, and can you make a guy miss or show some power and finish your runs hard and, of course, take care of the football as well? And so, he's on my list, but he joins a dozen other names of guys I'm really excited to see.
Sort of a mix between, went back and watched some older clips earlier in the morning and all like that. And, kind of reminds you of a mix of between Maurice Jones-Drew and, James Robinson, that kind of bowling ball back in Jacksonville, there. So definitely excited to see him. All right. Tight end position. Gentry still out. Well, Freiermuth back kind of full now.
Yeah, he caught a couple passes today, which was good because, he hadn't worked a ton because of the hamstring injury. And so he's gotten some work. Connor Hayward got called for a false start once. If you false start, you get pulled. That's the rule this year in training camp. And so Freiermuth came in to replace him just for a rep. Then you come back in. Sternberger had a bad pass block against, I think it was Rashed. I have to go back and check my notes there. So Sternberger, again, there's some athleticism, but beyond that, there's not a ton there to talk about.
Okay, wide receiver, George Pickens. What was the amazing thing that George Pickens did today?
Probably the 7 shots work. The red zone fades, one jump ball against Sutton, the other jump ball, which apparently, again, was a catch against Akella Witherspoon. So, again, he's a 50-50 ball that wins those at probably more like 70-30, 80-20, which is a really good trait to have. And I'm sure the Steelers quarterbacks are very happy to throw to George Pickens. He makes them look good more often than not. Another guy doing well, Miles Boykin. I mentioned Boykin's name a little bit this week. He's really come on strong. The receiver position's so interesting. Typically every year there's guys that start slow and then pick things up, and typically there are guys every year that start fast and then begin to fade. I've seen Boykin be one of those. Rogers had a great combat catch against Justin Lane for a 24-yard gain today on a throw from, I believe that was Kenny Pickett. And then Anthony Miller been a little bit quieter, and Tyler Vaughn has been quieter as well. So there's always ebb and flow there, and that's why you talk about camp as totality, not just this one day. A snapshot at the start of camp would have maybe Vaughn's and Miller looking better, but start to finish, Boykin is certainly finishing stronger. And to me right now, I think I'd put Boykin as that number 6 receiver ahead of Anthony Miller.
All right, I saw some Steven Sims in my timeline today.
Yeah, he did well. The numbers probably look really good for him. Again, there was kind of a blown coverage. Pittsburgh had a late safety rotation where Minka spun down. They were kind of rotating into a too high look there, and I think somebody blew a coverage and Sims got open. But he's an athletic guy that's played a little bit more slot today, but it's worked on the outside as well. And so had a big 50-something yard catch from Trubisky. Had another catch, I think, that got him some yards. So, pretty small guy, but pretty athletic guy overall.
So going into this Friday or into this first preseason game, you'd have Boykin raked ahead of Anthony Miller then?
Yes.
Okay. Offensive line, what's happening there?
Good days for the interior guys. So that Mason Cole, my whole thing with Mason Cole was just be fine. I think overall his camp honestly has been better than fine. It's been good. It's not been fantastic or amazing, but it's been good. And just watching him in one-on-ones, deal with power, be able to sit and drop anchor and stall some of these things out and stay square and have a good posture and mirror some of the more athletic rushers. Carlos Davis and Khalil Davis have been really tearing guys up, and thought Mason Cole did well today defending some of those moves. And Kendrick Green, to his credit, we talked about his issues dealing with power and bull rushers. He had just 2 reps in O-line, D-line, both against Isaiah Loudermilk, but both wins against Isaiah Loudermilk on power rushes there that Loudermilk tried and failed. And so you saw a better job of hand placement and leverage and anchoring and punch and all those things. And I thought Kendrick Green, just in that snapshot of O-line, D-line, impressed, because Loudermilk has had a good camp. His power has been effective. He pushed John LeGlue back on a later rep. So I thought Green did well in that session.
Has he been staying off the ground, doing a better job of staying off the ground?
Maybe a little bit. I've certainly still seen it, not today, but in past days. But again, right now he's healthy. He's taking all the first team reps, and that's a good thing for him, as Kevin Dawson sits and waits and tries to get healthy.
Tell me about the backup tackles.
Which ones, in terms of what Haig and Trent Scott, all those guys?
Yeah,
Haig's been good. He did well in O-line, D-line. Trent Scott's pretty, as Mike Mayock would say, a waistbender, pretty heavy-legged waistbender type of guy, but did okay. Jordan Tucker's been not good. He got forklift by, I think it was Rashed or Carter today in one of the run sessions. So Tucker, I don't know if he'll be one of the first 5 cut, because you need to have enough offensive linemen just available. There's a number that you basically need to keep of like 15 healthy offensive linemen, especially later on in the preseason for that third game. But you had to rank, guys 1 through 90, Tucker would be getting pretty close to number 90 on that roster.
How about we talk about Chaz Green?
He worked actually left guard today. He was second team left guard with Austin that were not playing left guard, playing center today. And so he's worked guard throughout camp. That's not new, but some second team reps for him. He's been okay, a little more comfortable, I guess, this time around. But again, I think Haig should be the backup guy. And in terms of Chaz Green making the 53, pretty long odds there. I think John Leglou's odds are getting slimmer. I'm not really sure who that ninth offensive lineman should be, if there'll be a ninth offensive lineman. You talk about if you want to keep 7 defensive linemen, you got to be one short somewhere else. Maybe they just keep 8 and they put a couple of those guys on the practice squad.
All right. I believe we hit all the offense there, haven't we? Yeah. Let's go over to the defensive side of football. What's happening on the defensive line? You just commented and had the last couple of shows about the Davis brothers and all like that. So looking forward to seeing those guys in action there. What about the young kid out of Michigan?
Yeah, Donovan Jeter, not in my notes too often, and he was kind of in my head for that interior plugger run stuffer. Had one good win against, who was it against? I needed to find out who that was. That was Chaz Green, actually, a quick swim. And had a couple of good reps against Chaz Green today. And so he was a guy that I didn't think had some quickness in his hands and hasn't gotten a ton of time. He's kind of rotating in. There may be more opportunity for him the last couple of days with Montravius Adams out and Tyson Alualu not working, totally in full, consistent team session. So Donovan Jeter, again, snaps are tough to come by. He might play, 8 to 10 snaps against the Seahawks, but I saw a little something from him as a pass rusher in O-line, D-line today.
All right, where's DeMarvin Leal at going into this first preseason game?
Yeah, he'll work. Well, you asking in terms of his play or where he'll run or everything?
Both.
You're greedy. In terms of where he'll play, he'll rotate in probably more, second, third quarter, sub-package football. He's played some base defensive end at left defensive end as well. So whenever obviously Cam Hayward won't play. I doubt we'll see much of Chris Wormley in this game either. So Leal probably is going to get some base work as a left defensive end. His play the last couple of days has been quieter. I think just working on consistency and technique and leverage and staying balanced and things like that. By the way, I don't think Larry Ogunjobi worked in team today. He had a helmet on. I saw him walk down the stairs, although he was one of the last guys out. So I don't think Ogunjobi worked in team. So hopefully that's not an issue going forward.
Where have they been mostly playing Costin?
Like third, fourth string
over
defensive tackle. He got a nose rep against Austin that were an O-line, D-line. I'll have to check. I think Jeter and Carlos Davis have played more nose tackle, and Mondo's been kind of running first-team nose tackle for a lot of this thing as well. So it's been probably more defensive tackle, nickel package, 1 and 3 tech, depending on just the alignment of the front.
All right, inside linebacker, UG3, as we mentioned yesterday, out the door. He cleared waivers, is on IR now. Probably played his last snap for the Steelers at this point. We'll see what happens with any type of settlement or anything like that. Marcus Allen remains out. I mean, we've talked a lot about the back end of this unit and how we're going to see Mark Robinson and Buddy Johnson quite a bit in Saturday night. And probably only 5 of those guys are probably going to dress in total, right?
Of the inside guys?
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be Miles Jack. I doubt. Do you think he'll dress?
Well, I mean, if he does dress and he does play, it probably won't be long.
Right. Maybe he would, just being new to the team, but you're right, a drive or two. So what? Jack, Bush, Spillane, Robinson, and Buddy Johnson. That's it.
Right. How did the back end do today?
Mark Robinson had some really good. I was really excited to watch Mark Robinson in that one-on-one tackling session because that's like built for Mark Robinson. And Teague ran him over the first rep. Robinson made the tackle the second rep, and then the third rep, Robinson got just enough of Teague, and his knee hit the ground, so he was down there. So Robinson gets the win. But again, a lot of reps for Buddy Johnson, a lot of reps for Mark Robinson. I think both guys have been better and certainly picked things up. Johnson, especially the last week and a half of training camp. Spillane was pretty active again. Jack looks solid and consistently, solid there. And Marcus Allen is the team DJ in stretch line. So Marcus Allen is still trying to help the team while he's on the mend.
All right, as I mentioned in my terrible take, we mentioned at the top of this show, sounds like 5 dogs for 1 or 2 bones at the on the outside linebacker depth chart there. A couple of new names in there. Obviously, the newest being Hamilker Rashid, and not too far many days ago, Rondell Carter out of James Madison joined the team. Did either of those two stick out today in particular?
Yeah, I think both guys have had their moments. It's Rashid, you said, right? Rashid?
Yeah, it's okay. At least the pronunciation I've seen is Hamilker Rashid.
Okay, I'm gonna probably say Rashid a lot, so I apologize in advance. But Rashid, he had, I think, like I said, that win against Sternberger in team, and Carter's looked, strong and aggressive, and I think he's done a nice job, kind of just joining this team, catching this moving train so late or kind of later in the process. So actually, I saw. And maybe I'm reading too much into this, but Delonte Scott at one point was running behind Rashid today, which was it's a little weird there, but I'll have to check on that. I think Delonte Scott's had a good camp overall. I'm excited to watch him against Seattle.
How about Tuzar, skipper?
Yeah, he's been active in run session, maybe a little less so in the passing game. It can be a little tough to judge sometimes, but I think he's been solid and consistent and not too high, not too low, but a more veteran guy, so you would expect that kind of stuff. This is more old hat to hit for him, but I think he's been good.
All right, let's see. We got the outside and inside linebackers out of the way. How about the cornerbacks now?
Not as much to note. I thought the corners certainly had their tougher time in the one-on-one tackling session. Chris Steele got ran over by Master Teague. Lyndon Stevens did not win at all. He was going against receivers. He's just a very stiff hip, tight hip kind of dude. It's not a lot of. He's probably more of a safety type of guy than a corner. Stevens should be. Beyond that, Justin Lane continues to try to fight and claw for snaps. That's not looking too good for him. And I thought Witherspoon, was okay overall today. Had a dropped interception, should have been a pick that he had there off of Trubisky, but overall the corners did okay. I think the offense had the better day overall, but the corners were not terrible.
Did they put Witherspoon in that drill? They
did not, actually. That's a good point. maybe knowing what the result would have been.
Okay. All right. Something to note there.
It's a little like tree archer and backs on backers. You take him out, maybe kind of thing, I guess.
I'm pretty observant for not being there, right?
Yeah, I didn't even consider that. But yeah, Witherspoon did not get a rep there. I mean, I assume he was standing around there, but he did not participate.
But they put Minka in there, right?
They put Mink in there, yeah.
Did they put Terrell Edmonds in that drill?
They did not, actually. I wonder how they decide some of this stuff. But Edmonds did not participate. Cam Sutton did.
You gonna put poor Mink in that drill after 385 tackles last year, but you're not going to put a guy that needs to work on tackles in Witherspoon and Edmonds and some of those other guys in there. Okay, carry on.
That's basically all that I had. That's a good point about that. Again, I wonder how they kind of choose some of that stuff. Some of it's Tomlin's, own doing and picking guys, but that's basically all that they had for the cornerbacks.
Witherspoon better not make a business decision Saturday night, or we're going to talk about it. Anything on safety whatsoever? Really, probably not much, right?
A little bit. Again, Fitzpatrick just being dominant in that setting, which I think is generally tailored towards the offense. But for Fitzpatrick to go 3 for 3, he did go against receivers, not running backs. So he faced Miller and Gunner twice. So it's not that he was facing these bigger running backs, but still, Fitzpatrick was incredible there. Arthur Millette also did well in that drill as well. Had a good tackle on Steven Sims. Carl Joseph continues to impress. And, I was watching Miles Killebrew. I don't think he practiced much today until the very end. He was running behind everybody else, playing opposite Donovan Steiner. So Casey and Joseph and Norwood and all those guys playing ahead of Miles Killebrew. Is that because they're still working Killebrew back full? Maybe, but is that, if you want my overreaction, which I know you're going to ask here in a second, is Killebrew's job as safe as we thought it was, or could Carl Joseph take that spot from him? I think that is an open question right now.
Man, with the emphasis on special teams of Danny Smith, you would think that it would take a lot to wrestle away the guy that, a special team ace in Killebrew, right?
It would, but I think Joseph would do well on special teams. I know Killebrew did excellent there and had a 2-block punts last year, but I think Joseph has the traits to also, do well and may offer more in terms of a defensive piece than Killebrew could be.
And that's been a given the moment Killebrew has been signed anyway. He's
Right.
He's a special teams ace, and you don't get in a situation where you need to play him much on defense.
Right. And you think this group's pretty deep overall and healthy, and so you don't think you would have to resort to that. Killebrew played in some big 3 safety packages last year, but just based on how they're running, I mean, we'll keep an eye on it. No declarations today, but I think Joseph, again, is making a strong push to be in the conversation. Again, in terms of DBs that you cut, going to be some tough decisions there. There's going to be some really good battles still the rest of the way.
All right, so offense had a better day today, you say, right?
Yeah, 1 in 7 shots. Had some big plays with Farland and Boykin and Steven Sims and those guys. So I would say pretty comfortably the offense was better today.
Okay, and your overreaction is Killebrew not as safe as maybe we thought he might be.
Right. I know that's kind of out of left field, and it's just basing it off a more limited sample size of stuff. And obviously he could still make it, but I think it's not his grasp on the roster is not as firm as it was entering training camp.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add? Obviously, we'll have kind of a more in-depth Friday podcast, especially after not doing a Wednesday episode. We'll go more in-depth about what Mike Tomlin said and start getting people a little bit more ready for the preseason game Saturday night at Acrisure Stadium against the Seattle Seahawks. Anything else you'd like to put into the back end of this?
Quick note, kick returners working today: Gunner, McFarland, Sims, Austin, and Vaughns. And I think Mike Tomlin made a really good point, and we'll talk more about it tomorrow, I'm sure, about how important it is to watch special teams, because you really can't replicate the team stuff in practice the way that you can other, run game and pass game and stuff like that. Doing special team stuff is really hard to do. So what you get inside stadiums is basically everything. It's the homework, the final exam, the tests, and all the above. And so that was the kick return lines, and you would expect, Shevsky to get some work there, but second half, you're probably going to see McFarland and maybe Steven Sims as well.
All right. It'd be interesting to see how he mixes it up. And we will talk a little bit more in depth about that, as we said on the Friday show. We've got about 30 minutes into this one right now, so it's probably a good time to wrap it up. I know we got a couple of emails in the box for the morning as well, too. So let us get this one cut up and put out to you listeners. And let's see. In the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. And also let me know if there's if you're getting any of these pop-ups or anything like that. I haven't seen anybody email me today as far as getting some of those crazy redirects. You have won this Google phone or whatever the hell they are there. But let me know about it, or if you have any questions in general, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you want to donate to the site, SteelersDepot.com, donate button, upper right navigational bar. And also, if you want an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button, upper right navigational bar. So with that, Alex, great job again today. People think they get a lot out of this. We don't do it for them. I do it for me. So I can, so I can needle you for the information. No,
when you're old and gray, Dave, you'll be pulling me aside asking about how the inside linebackers look.
Absolutely, I will.
All
but appreciate all your hard work as usual. So with that, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast, another special edition of the Terrible Podcast, Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp 2022 with Dave and Alex. Good night.